Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another amazing episode of New Cow Corner. Today, this is another episode in our veteran appreciation, veteran and active duty member appreciation series, something that's very, very dear to my heart. And today we have a special guest, Ranger Exotic, Jesse from Ranger Exotics. And obviously my co-host Mark is here. So without any further ado, let's get right into this. Jesse, can you introduce yourself, your brand, and how Ranger Exotics came to be, maybe a little bit of, about your name, your military background. Just introduce us to you.
Absolutely. No, I'm Jesse. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Always, my parents grew up on 3 acres. I was always in the stream out back, catching salamanders, crayfish, small fish, you name it. Turtles when I could get them, toads, you name it. Just growing up as all the time as a kid, outside, out down in the woods, and
best way to live, always man. Best way to grow up.
Yep. So that's where it all started, I would say. I just always had a fascination with that. Always loved going to the zoo, going to the aquarium, really anything animal related, outdoors. It was right up my alley. So from there, I went on to attend Penn State University. I was also on an ROTC scholarship growing up. My dream was to become an exotic vet. That's what I always said I was going to do from a young kid. But things changed whenever I was on the scholarship as well. I needed to make sure I kept a certain grade point average and concentrated on different things. So I kind of went the route of continuing my passion as a hobby, and majoring in something that aligned more with that. And ultimately went down the ROTC route, but that also didn't stop me from keeping animals. While at Penn State, I had a Hog Island boa, I had bearded dragon, I had crested gecko, pets. Still couldn't stay away
from it. You living on campus or you living off campus?
Off campus, yeah. No. While I was on campus at the beginning, I did take a break from it. But yeah, once I got off campus, it was a little bit more of an opportunity to continue my passion there. But yeah, went on from there, graduated, went to spend some time at Fort Benning, Georgia, and went through a lot of different schools and everything there. Obviously, stepped back again from the hobby, and went about my life, ultimately taking me back to whenever I moved to Maryland. And that's whenever I really began to pick it up again. I remember it was probably 2019. I remember seeing the Baltimore Repticon pop up, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go check it out. Sure enough, left with Euromastics at that point. Again, just started building a small collection of pets. Really what I enjoyed doing, keeping geckos, keeping Euromastics at that point, and a few other snakes, things like that along the way. So ultimately, up until COVID, it went that way. And then I decided, you know what, I ran into a guy. I don't remember if I went to the show first, by the name of Ryan Buckley, who was into knobtail geckos. And I remember the first time I started researching knobtail geckos, I was fascinated by them. They were pretty hard to find at shows. But sure enough, I went back to Repticon about a year later and ran into a guy that had a few of them. So picked those up. Also started talking to Ryan, and he really got me into them. Just sharing the different species and talking to him over the phone. He was local down here, so that helped, and really started getting into those. And that's whenever I started growing my collection and decided, you know what, I'm going to actually do more than just keep these as pets. I decided I wanted to start breeding them. And like anything else, one leads to 10 pretty quickly. Got my first rack system, everything else. And at that point in time, I did move into my own house and was able to dedicate a room just to keep those, to maintain the correct temps and everything for them, and really just became very passionate about that specific, the knobtail geckos themselves, the Nephrus species. So that was really what started it. And then right around COVID, I determined, you know what, I need to put a name on it. And just with how the reptile industry grew then, I kind of switched paths to where I ultimately wanted to go with it and say, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I might as well decide on a name, start looking at potentially doing some shows. At that point, wasn't producing a ton of them, but it was just kind of that stretch goal that I had in the back of my mind that I would try to do. So yeah, I started in the knobtails, and that slowly led to, after we moved to Georgia, again for captain's career course for the Army. While I was down there, sure enough, I had moved my knobtail gecko collection with me down to an apartment down there. That was pretty manageable. It's like, you know what, maybe it's time for something else. So that's whenever I ran into Mike from the Chihuahua Chamber and a few others down there, and just the same thing happened with Chihuahua. And that was really the next big type of geckos I got into. Keeping Chihuahuas, and again, one turned into 10 pretty quickly, but that was during COVID as well. And just with the pricing and everything on Chihuahua, I was pretty successful with the mindset of knobtails, getting babies, raising the babies up, learning a lot about their care. And I decided I was going to do the same thing with Chihuahua. But Chihuahua, you're looking at the 2 to 3 year mark before you can really think about breeding them, or at least that's how I've been doing it. I know there's a bunch of different ways out there, but they're a lot more finicky, and if you pair them too early, too late, things can happen with the females. There's also aggression that comes into play. So that was the next big type of gecko I got into was Chihuahua, and that has since led to, we moved back from Georgia back to Maryland, to where I sit today, and I have a room full of really mainly knobtail Chihuahua with a lot of various other geckos in there as well. I got into leaf tails a decent amount. I've since scaled back on those to concentrate, but yeah, as far as the gecko side of the house goes, I really try to keep my Instagram updated, and lacking on that lately, but I've been trying to post more there just because I am passionate about it, and I do want to make sure that I keep that record for myself as well, just so I can go back and see the progression. Looking, whenever you asked me to jump on this podcast, I was like, you know what, that's a perfect opportunity. Do a lot of local shows. I talked to people there, and I was like, you know what, it would always be good if I could have a landmark essentially to go back to and look at. So doing this kind of stuff is good as well to be able to.
Believe so. That's why we like to give people that, not that you don't have a big following or a good following, but there's other podcasts that I feel overlook a lot of people, right? The majority of the hobby isn't a handful of people, right? The majority of the hobby doing the incredible work is the masses that just go overlooked, and we swore to never do that. We would give the stage to anyone that had a passion for this, that had something to share, something to contribute. The stage would always be theirs, and not only did I know your page and follow, but you came, suggested by a few people actually, and you produced some amazing things, some beautiful animals. I mean, I say it all the time, obviously, but people's passion really shows in their animals and their work, and not always just their productions, but their selection of animals, the animals they have, the people they get them from. I could just tell so much about a person by their collection, if that makes any type of sense. And you do it well. You do it very, very well. You deserve the stage. You deserve the attention and the recognition for a multitude of reasons at that. One question I do have to ask, though, and I wanted to ask this before it came up. I mean, you keep the knobtails and some of these other tropical species. Are you keeping them in the same room?
So I have 2 different rooms now. It started with the knobtails. One thing I did leave out, So after I came out of Penn State, I commissioned into Army National Guard, and I was in Pennsylvania. Went down and was on and off orders a lot, just with how that works. Essentially, you go on to a set of orders and come off and go back to another job. And that other job was police officer down here that I still currently am in Maryland.
Awesome. Thank you
And
for your service, man. Appreciate that. Amen.
it's enjoyable, and it's something different every night. But I do. I've always worked. I've always worked night shifts. So how this manifested was I was living in a house by myself. After I bought my own place, I was working and come home at night and would oftentimes still be not ready to go to bed yet, not tired. I would either go work out, or I I had a few pets at the time, and that's where the knobtails came in. They were always active at night, so that's where I started keeping one or two of them. Would give me something to do. I come home, feed them, like look them over, and just spend some time in that room. It was just they're just neat geckos to have, and that's where those came in specifically
Sure.
because
It's my favorite times of the, I should say day, but night, or when I wake up or can't sleep and I go in there and the whole city's quiet, man. Everything is quiet and dark. And I walk in that room and I feel like I'm in a jungle, everything's alive. Everything's doing something different. It's just amazing. Even plants,
Absolutely.
believe it or not, plants grow at nighttime. I mean, you'll see things unbudding and it's definitely my peace, my zen.
Yep. No, it's great, and that's where it was enjoyable to see them while they were active. So I think that helped a lot, and it still does. I'm still doing the same thing. I work nights, and even with two kids now, it's a lot easier to come home, and then I have that hour or so to take care of everything. Otherwise, it's. I mean, with two young kids now, it's a bit chaotic most nights, most days. So finding time to get
Times
down
will
here.
change, man. It'll pass. Time's gonna come. You're gonna wish they were this young again, man. And one day they're gonna be
Absolutely.
helping you.
No, the
Yep.
soon to be 4-year-old, he's already at the shows. He's already handing out stickers, like head of marketing there. It's
That's
great.
awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
it's fun to do, and that's what makes it even more enjoyable. Is that he wants to come down every night and miss the geckos while I'm feeding, and that's some
Beautiful.
good times that we spend together as well. So
Beautiful. That's something you guys, hopefully you'll have for life. You guys,
exactly.
always have that together, man. The shows, even I see you doing with your family, your wife's with you. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's crazy too. You think of kids, and you think they would naturally be afraid of certain things, but no. Like the first time that I sold a vision rack. I had an extra one that I sold to a guy down in Virginia. He was a breeder, and he's like, "You want to come in and see a couple of the snakes?" And sure enough, he grabbed one, and my son right away said, "Can I hold it?" And I was like, "You know what? Like kids don't always do what you would think they would do. Like you always think, okay, they might be a little bit hesitant, but sure enough, he grabbed the ball python and super excited, and we ended up taking that one. So,
Good for him, man. That's awesome. He's your kid, right? I mean, it's your son.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great to see that in him. So it makes it pretty exciting. So, yeah.
So
Cool.
Jesse, I see that you have a lot of different species of geckos,
Yes.
and out of all the species of geckos, would you say then the knobtails are your favorite? That's what you specialize in, or what's your favorite? What do you call your specialty?
Yes, I would say the knobtails still are, especially as of recently. I bought previously from Tom at Secret Labs, and as of recently, he's decided to retire, and that's whenever I took that opportunity to take over the his High White Pilveransis project. So
Oh, nice.
it's all knobtails have always been kind of my specialty and what I am truly passionate. I do try to stay focused. I mean, with with reptiles in general, it's easy to see something new and to want to jump right into that. But I've always, since knobtails were the first geckos I've really concentrated on, I've tried to keep that as like my foundation essentially to just continue to grow those. I mean, what's here is here, and that's just with their current classification. And it's neat how many different species and subspecies there are
It's a
within
nice
that.
niche little market for you too. You know, that's a nice little spot for you to be successful. You know, it's a
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it shows you still don't see a ton of them. I mean, and that's what I enjoy doing the shows just because I like going out, talking to people with them and just like going to them in general. So it's neat that whenever you have something there that, I mean, there's always a few other tables that have a couple, but it's fun to have a whenever I do have a decent amount of them in the late summer, early fall is usually whenever I'll have a decent amount of them on the table. It's neat. So how many people don't even haven't seen one before, and especially the babies. I mean, they're pretty cool. So, but yeah, I would say the knobtails definitely are, but Chihuahua as well. Knobtails and Chihuahua they're not far behind. Made the decision to go with those. I also have crested geckos as well, but just whenever I was down in Georgia, and the first time I held a Chihuahua gecko, and you take it out and it just sits there, and I'm like, well, this is different. I mean, every gecko is different, but it was a different interaction, I would say. Whenever you take one of those out the babies are still pretty flighty, but once you get into the juveniles and adults, they'll just walk out on your hand and sit there. And to have a new cow species that does that is pretty neat. So
hardest species for me to try to explain to people when they're like,
yes.
why are you so obsessed with Chihuahuas? I have pushing 60 of them now, and I refuse to get rid of them. I just love them, man. Like I don't breed them to sell. I breed them for me. I love these damn things. They're like finger dragons, man. They're just like the coolest little, not even little. Some of them, I have some 100+ grammars, you know, some 100+ gram females. I mean, and they are just the coolest, confident, agile, athletic, inquisitive. I mean, they're just, I can name the best things about multiple species of reptiles, and Chihuahuas collectively have all of those characteristics. It's like the best of everything that I've ever wanted in all different species, all put together in one. I have a very hard time explaining to people why, because I just can go on and on and on and can't ever pick one thing. They're just amazing in my eyes. Not to say the knobtails aren't. You know, I've dabbled in knobtails myself too. It is what it is. I got out of them just because I didn't have two designated rooms, and I started having a really hard time separating environments in one room, you know, because I climate control the one room, humidity, heat, everything in its a very tropical environment. It wasn't easy to try to dry out and micromanage these other enclosures. So I was just like, you know what? I can't have everything I want. It doesn't mean I don't love them, don't appreciate them, don't respect them as a species, but I'm already invested in this. And I got him to my buddy who happens to love Australian species, and I was happy for him, you know?
Yeah, the humidity it'd be a challenge, but yeah, having two separate rooms really helps
So let's
with that.
let's talk about it, Jesse. I come up to your table. You're at the show. Beautiful setup. Hey, Jesse, I want to get my first reptile. I see you have knobtails. I see you have Chihuahuas. What are you recommending and why?
I would say Chihuahua all day.
Really?
The Chihuahua, I think it's the perfect mix. I mean, the crested geckos came about because they are truly the ideal pet for somebody who doesn't have anything else, or hasn't had a reptile previously. I would say if like a good first time, like a starter gecko, as far as the diet goes, requirements, and the fact that you can take them out of the cage and have an interaction with them. I would say the knobtails, you keep those. I keep them in a rack system, and yeah, at night they'll be out, and when I'm feeding them, they're out and about. They're hunting. You throw crickets in, and you can see them that way. But I mean, whenever you take a Chihuahua out, though, it's a different interaction. It's especially an adult Chihuahua. I mean, they're just more personable. I think they're by far the most intelligent of all the geckos that I keep. You can just tell. A lot of them will know where to sit whenever you throw the crickets in. If I'm feeding crickets at night or dubia, and they just almost watch you whenever you come in the room. So I would say the Chihuahua by far, just because they're going to be able to take it out. They're going to be able to show their friends. They're going to be able to not stress the gecko out a ton whenever it does come out, because chances are, if you put your hand out, you take the cork bark out of the cage and put your hand out, it's going to walk onto your hand anyway. And if it's a juvenile or adult, it's probably going to remain still for a decent period of time. And if it does jump, it's not like it's just dead set on getting away from you either.
I very rarely have adults jump. They're not that, I hate to, not that I keep a lot of crested geckos too, but I just don't think they're that stupid. They don't jump for nothing. They're not just hurling themselves across the room for no reason like a crested gecko. They do everything is very calculated.
Hey. Let's take it easy there. Let's take it easy.
Listen, bro, I've been trying to send you Chihuahuas for a year now. I've been trying to send you some Chihuahuas, bro. We got the Chihuahua
boys ganging up on me right now.
Yep.
Well,
no, they're
which
great.
ones?
They're just,
what do you focus on? Pine Island or mainland or both?
Pine Island only. Well, I say that with so just with them coming in, the way that they came in versus the way Lychees came in, I truly try to only keep Pine Island, just because I think if you not to say that I won't have both in my collection one day, but I do strive to at least maintain them separately.
Pure Pine Islands.
Very controversial topic, and,
yes,
and I
it is. That's where I was starting to talk, and I was like, yeah.
I pride myself in really trying to be unbiased and see multiple angles. But when you talk about how the whole thing transpired and the small group of animals that was collected, and then the years of breeding before people try to separate the localities, I mean, we could have two different localities and we could have two different lines. Who's to say what is what? I look at animals all the time that people say are Pine Island, and I say, hey, well, I have what was bought as mainland, and yours look just like these. It's very controversial, man, and I don't know that without any type of real true DNA testing and cross-referencing it with blood from the wild that we'll ever really, really know. I think that the hobby has kind of just went with two different looks and lines. Now, I will say my mainlands are extremely different visually than my Pine Islands. They're shorter, they're smaller, shorter heads. But again, nothing that's not easily explainable by selective breeding in lines. Like those characteristics could easily be developed by, generations of me selling you an animal that looks like this under this name. Now this person buys that animal that looks like that under that name and breeds them to another one that looks like that one. I mean, now you're breeding for traits and visual characteristics. It doesn't mean that they're a different animal. And now on the contrary, there's and I haven't experienced this and I don't really care to, but a mainland will grow its tail back, yet a Pine Island will not grow its tail back. Again, I haven't experienced it, but that in my head would say, okay, something is different, right? Like something is different here. But again, all these unknowns, there's just too many unknowns for me to really, really pick a side. I like to just listen as much as I can and see what people are talking about. And, I keep both of them for those reasons. I like to observe, like over observe and through breeding them and years of keeping them now in reproduction, I watch for the slightest differences and changes. And I don't think I would enjoy getting involved in an argument defending either side. I don't know. I
completely agree. I've listened to podcasts as well with Mike from the Chihu Chamber, and he, I mean, when you buy geckos from him too, the only, I guess I can say that I at least strive for that, because whenever you buy a gecko from him, he sends you a spreadsheet with 4 generations back of doing his best to trace
Mike's
back.
the best there is in the Chihuahua game.
100%.
Mike is without a doubt he's the best all the way around.
Yep, and then he started posting again recently on his new stuff on it, and every year it's just crazier and crazier.
Mind-blowing. It really is.
Yep. Yeah, that, and then I have a couple from Phil Tremper. Last season I got a few babies from 2 different lines from him, so that was an achievement in itself.
Oh yeah,
I'm keeping all of those, and
great animals to have in a collection. Great blood.
Right. So
he works with some knobtails too, doesn't he? Doesn't he work with a few knobtail species?
He does.
I had him on the other podcast. Talking to him is just like my brain is all over the place. I had a one conversation with him will never be enough. It's
super smart. Yeah. The first time I met him in person, I bought from him years before I met him, and then I did go out to Tinley 3 years ago, and was talking. I just super smart, and just with everything he works with. But yeah, having a few of those in my collection, I keep try to keep those separately, and then the ones from Chihuahua Chamber, I have just a decent amount from Leaping Cheese, trace back to there. Troy's, just what I did at the beginning was,
too, yeah.
Yep. And I went and bought babies from all of these different breeders, and I was like, you know what, if I get a few from here, a few from Empire, a few from, and raise them all up, and I had about 20 and it somehow it worked out where I had about 10 males and 10 females. I had just about even pairs. I don't know how that worked out. Yep. So that's my current pairs, and I hold about 5 or 6 back each year, just to keep it going. So I figured that was a good start. That was my approach with the project in general, and it panned out. But just the challenge it goes along with breeding. I mean, some years for whatever reason, like eggs don't come out fertile, or like just the longer incubation times. Anything goes wrong in there, it can be a little more finicky. So that's another reason why I think I like those. And the knobtails is just a little bit more of a challenge, and it's
sure,
also
again,
more,
they almost deserve it. They require more attention, right? Between the heating periods and the cooling them for breeding. I mean, they just require, you have to really be invested, and not to take anything away from Chihuahuas, because I clearly favor them. They're a lot more forgivable, right? Like they just, and not that I'm suggesting anyone should not pay attention to their animals. They're just easier to adapt to. I feel like knobtails are a little less forgiving. If you screw up in one way, you're it's not going to work out well for you, and they're not cheap animals by any means. Not neither the Chihuahuas are either, but just not a good animal to learn with, something you should try to work your way up to. But
absolutely. Yep. Just learning things over the years.
You have 20 pairs going right now?
I have that was the 20 and I bought about 20 babies during those 2 years that I was getting them, and that's what I raised up to get my current breeding pairs. But right now I think I just put a pair together tonight, or earlier today rather, watching them tonight. I knew I was going to be sitting in here for a little while, and you know what, that's going to be so far so good.
2 birds with one stone.
Always, yeah. It's I just do one pair at a time. I never.
Chihuahuas or the knobtails? You're talking about Chihuahuas or the knobs?
Chihuahuas, yes.
Have you had any issues pairing them?
I've had 2 issues.
Really? I've only had one, man. Yep. One, and it never worked. Never worked. She was not having it. The girl tried to kill this male. I mean, I even moved them into an enclosure next to hers to try to get them to, maybe smell each other or something. She would try to, I thought she was going to kill herself trying to get through the glass to get to him. She was on a mission to kill him. I put another male in 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later. They were sleeping in the same bamboo hollow the next night.
Yep. And
first time breeder?
Yeah.
That was a first time breeder?
For me, yeah. But the only one time I had the issue. Every other time, cakewalk, never a problem.
That's my experience as well. I did the same thing. I had two that fought pretty bad. Separated them just for the season, and then the next season, I switched it up. I got a new male. Same thing, and yep. And once they're bonded, I don't separate them. I keep them together year round. I don't mess with it, and I've never had an issue. Yeah, that was something I learned from Tom from Secret Labs. I bought my first adult pair. While I was raising up the babies, I did get one adult pair that was breeding for him for a while. I figured, you know what, I'm going to get this one pair, and then that's how I'm going to learn the process. And I mean, after they're bonded, it's pretty easy as far as, just the same care as an individual in the cage. Just you really don't have to worry about them fighting after that.
Excuse my language, but I would feel like a complete scumbag. I watch them interact with each other. I'll watch the male let the female come down and eat and back away from the food. Like, I don't have I know it sounds ridiculous, and people are going to say, oh, you're an idiot and you're whatever. I don't have the heart to do that. Like, I'm all for them being bonded. Like, I don't want to separate that. If it's the babies aren't coming out how I wanted them, well, you know what? That's on me to adjust later on with the next generation. I should have been paying attention. I made a bad choice, even though I haven't yet. But I should have done my homework. I'm not going to let these animals pay the price. Like, they are clearly bonded. And at that juncture, I don't pair mine until 4 years old. I keep them. There's a process in which they go up to get. Once I realize an animal has a certain type of look or certain type of characteristics that I want to put with another animal, I'll slowly but surely start working them closer together. Not in the same cage, but I'll put them next to enclosures where they can smell each other. Then I'll let them over the next 6 months to a year start being able to see each other. I'll have doors open. I'll switch pieces of bark. I'll start introducing these animals to each other a year and a half before they ever meet the same enclosure. Now, if I don't realize that something's off by that point, like that they're not going to be a good pair, and that has happened too. I'd say, okay, something changed a little, and I'm going to go a different route. I just can't go through all that, put them together, and then pull them apart. I've done other things that are controversial too that I haven't really talked about with many people, but I have these giant enclosures, 48-inch planted enclosures. And I've let them hatch babies in there. They do not eat their babies. And I don't suggest anyone does this. And I only do it with one pair and one enclosure, this arrow pair I have. But her babies will bask on her back. They will sit on her back and bask. Now, I will say...
So wait. I'm sorry to cut you off. So this is a controversial issue?
Yeah, people don't like talking about it. I posted one picture maybe a year ago, and people were like, you should. I just went all types of crazy on me that I had a baby next to an adult, let alone that it was the mother, and I had him in that cage together. And I was just like, you know what? We're just not going to post this anymore. I'll talk to people that may understand it, but I'm not going to do it anymore.
Have you done this as well, Jesse? Have you noticed that?
I have had babies hatch out in the adult enclosures, and I've had no issues as far as like they still have their tail.
Many people have missed eggs and they've hatched and they've never been eaten.
Yeah, whenever I did find them, they were in the same cork tube. So I would imagine if it was going to happen,
hanging out,
if the adults were going to eat them, and it would have.
The reason why I find that interesting is because the same thing with crested geckos. They tell you don't let them hatch, and they're gonna eat them, and it's.
I found one in my bin the other day, middle of the winter. It's January over here. I found a baby. There was an egg I clearly didn't see, and it hatched in there. It was just in there. It was fine. The parents are there. It wasn't eating. It was curled up in the corner. I thought I was losing my mind. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I started moving the substrate around, and I found one egg that didn't hatch, the one that did hatch, and two that weren't hatched. I'm like, these things are still laying in January. But
yeah. No, it's crazy year round.
So just just to be safe, we're not saying to do this,
Yeah, I wouldn't
but
suggest
we
it.
have noticed that things are okay if it should happen by accident.
I leave them in there for a couple months in that one enclosure, a few months. And like I was saying, is I've witnessed when they went to feed, I'll put mix in because I really tend to feed my Chihuahuas a super bug heavy diet, but I do throw the mix in there because it's good for supplementation and vitamins. It's a good, way to get certain nutrients into them. So I do feed mix. I've watched the baby. One of the two is I did pull one because he just acted scared in a big enclosure. So I pulled the one, but the one that I left in, I watched the baby go to eat, the mother behind him, and the mother lunge at the father as the father went to go eat from the dish while the baby was eating. Dude,
And that goes back to the intelligence. I truly think that they are. I personally haven't owned a lychee before. I can't speak on those, but as far as the new cow geckos go, Chihuahua are just different.
very Tokay-ish. You keep Tokays, Mark. They're very Tokay-ish when it comes to intelligence, man. They're
I've had
very similar to
Chihuahuas. I kind of regret getting out of them, and you keep on getting me hype about them. But they're amazing animals. They're very intelligent. I love how stealthy they are. I love how they hunt. I love how they move through the enclosures.
Dude, the ugly ones are beautiful. There's no real ugly one. You can look at a drab one on a piece of bark, and you'll be like, "Whoa, that's it." It's
all the different characteristics are just
awesome.
What are you focusing on, Jesse, with your pairings? Like your programs, are you like high whites, colors? I know for me, I really like the pinks and the real bright greens. I love the white ones, obviously. Everybody loves the white ones, but I really like that vibrant pink and green.
Yep. No, I initially got into them for the color. That's what I was striving for. I had about 4 different pairings that I was wanted the high red, and then also the dark. Trying to keep as much black on there as possible. But I mean, they all really hatch out. It's so hard to tell in their I would say the first year, really, what they're going to look like. And a lot of them will hatch out dark, but then slowly really color out. And I've found that the ones that you think, oh yeah, I'm keeping this one, and it turns out probably not the way you're expecting, but again, they all have a different place as far as different projects and what you're going for, and it's pretty endless as far as what you can work for, just with the high white collars and then the white stripes and just the different hues. Like I got a few that are like really really like bright pink, and then also one thing that the pairing I just put together today is like they're both like a lime green and pink, and then what I found also is I'll have high color pairings that I'm only going for the color, but then they'll pop out with the biggest collars on them too. So it's a lot with lineage. I know that's not true across the board. I know people say different things about the cresteds and everything with that, but I found it to be pretty true with Chihuahua, that if you get something with strong lines that don't necessarily have that high expression, that doesn't mean in a generation or two down the road it's not going to pop out. So 2 of my highest weight babies from 2025 both came from parents with no collars. So, but
you too, right?
Had high white collars.
I tried to produce some with no collars. Like I wanted to just make colored animals, and like I thought I bought the right animals. I buy all of mine as babies and watch them grow. So I kind of have something to associate their offspring to when the time comes. I'll say, okay, well, this is how the parent developed. These are the colors that went this way. I enjoy watching them develop. And I had these few animals I bought, maybe 8 animals that I had, specifically purchased for a no collar, high color project. Every one of them came out with big collars. Like, It just spread into them so much that it'd take a few generations of me working with my animals I produce to maybe get there because it just.
Yep. Yep. You never know, and it will be random, but also, yeah, going back and just if you get stuff from strong lines, and it'll you can get something with no collar that came from a pairing with a high white collar previously, and chances are it's going to pop back up or has good potential in my experience. So,
what does your diet look like for your breeding females? Have you ever experienced this unavoidable calcium crash? What are you feeding, and what are your experiences with the aftermath of these animals laying?
Yep. So I do, no matter year round, I take that back. And right now I'm down to one time a week I'm feeding crickets just because everything really, is like they're not eating nearly how they do, once it gets warm. And I time that by, even though they're in neighboring rooms. Once I turn the racks on for the knobtails, that's whenever I really start to see a lot of activity from the Chihuahua, just because it heats that room up a little bit more as well. But no, as far as the diet goes, all but in the middle of winter, I'm feeding at least twice a week. I'm feeding crickets with dubia mixed in there as well. I'll just put a deli cup in there with the dubia, and then 2 to 3 times a week. I do a mix of Pangea and Rapashi. I'm trying to get into other diets as well. But I've had good luck with, especially like the fig flavors, and then also mixing in a little bit here and there. Mike, he has a good diet on his site.
What's he using?
Done that in the past.
See what he has.
It's a baby food, and then he actually mixes it with a protein, and he has the like rose hips, and it's you add calcium into it, and he has it on his site. And I've done that, but then I've also taken that, and I'll still do the Rapashi and Pangea twice a week, but then sometimes that third feeding I will do exactly that, just with 2 young kids with the baby food always around, especially the mango, mixing that into the flavorless protein to isolate, and then
Use it too. I
calcium.
use egg white protein. I use the regular isolate. I use egg protein. I use, I buy black soldier fly larvae and grind them all down. I mean, I'm always, I think that's part of, the question. Well, at least my answer to the question I asked about avoiding some of these, alleged, unavoidable calcium crashes and issues, sunken hips and squiggly tails. I have never, ever experienced. I feed them a super diverse diet, and I've never ever, and I paired my animals a little older too, and maybe that does have something to do with it, but I've never experienced a calcium crash. I've never had an animal with a crazy squiggly tail after laying eggs. Before I ever bred, it always, I clearly bought my animals, like I said, young, and raised them, and I was super submersed in the Chihuahua world and all the information I could find. And it just didn't seem right to me. It didn't seem right to me that nature, as amazing as nature is, would create something that would almost naturally die while giving birth. Nature's either going to design you to die after giving birth, or you're not supposed to die after giving birth, right? This almost dying is not natural. So we're just not on the right answer. And I refuse to settle for that being an answer. And I was set out on a mission. Hey, I hate to ever say I told you so, but I went back to quite a few people I got animals from and had lengthy conversations with, and was like, listen, man, I tried telling you. Even with the snails, we just did a podcast with Thomas Marriott, who's just out of New Caledonia, and he said that one of the most prevalent creatures on the island is snails. Mark, how long I've been preaching people to feed snails to their new cow species for? Years I've been telling people, just from scrolling iNaturalist. One of the things, the pictures that you'll see people always take pictures and submit from New Caledonia, all the islands, are dozens of different types of snails and land crabs. I'm like, if these are like all over the place, don't you guys think that maybe these geckos are eating snails and crabs? Like, I mean, they're serious sources of calcium. Like, so I've been feeding snails for years. People are like, oh no, these aren't Malagasy geckos. You don't feed them snails. I'm like, well, you don't have to, but I'm going to. And hey,
That's a great point. I mean, yeah, that's every single one of my feedings though is for the Chihuahua have either a calcium or a multivitamin, either dusting the crickets, dusting the dubia, or in the food, and especially during and after breeding
for
season,
sure.
I'm always mixing in additional calcium into my mix that I'm giving them, just to avoid that. And I haven't had any issues.
That's
And
awesome.
I have looked into. I heard that snails. I did branch out into Europlatus as well, um, and I think that was the a missing link there. I think that's almost not a necessity, but really helps them whenever you're able to feed those. So if I do get back into them, that's something I'm absolutely going to set up is a tank and just start breeding those, because I also found that it's pretty difficult to find the snails as well, without actually producing them yourself. To get them
Found
in,
mine on
it's not like
eBay of all places, believe it or not. I bought a bunch of different types of snails on eBay and set a little enclosure up, and now they're just about
Yeah, me too.
breeding in every enclosure.
I'll
eBay.
keep that in mind. Yeah,
Me
because
too.
yeah, it's not as
They
prevalent. I
they
mean,
have they have snail farms you could buy them from. I did the same thing and I set up a tank. They're breeding in there
What type of snails do
for a
you
while
have
now.
though? What are you feeding them?
Uh, I have the scientific name. I forget the scientific name, but I have to. I'll let you know. I have to look it up. I have it
I've had
written
some
down on the
snails
tank.
over the years that will not work as feeders. They're just I wouldn't even want to attempt to feed them to my animals, but I find that glass snails and milk snails, at least the small ones, work well. They clearly have calcified shells, but they're crunchable.
Yeah,
Like if you wanted to
these
take them and squish them with your finger, you could crush them. They're not like aquatic
the
snails.
ones I have are I specifically got solely for the Europlatus. When I did my research, it was I just can't remember the scientific name off the top of my head, but I did a lot of research behind it. It's a type of snail that is solely for the Europlatus
The
that a lot of
information's
people
there.
use.
The information is definitely
Yeah,
there.
it's there.
I'm gonna keep. I just wrote that down. Glass snails and milk snails. I'm gonna check those out because yeah, I can't agree more that having that. I think we're definitely missing something.
I think
A
a lot of
key
those
part of their
diets,
diet.
like the crested gecko diets, like I know there's some now that are a little more versed, but I genuinely believe that they were designed for crested geckos, right? Like it was Alan Rapace who revolutionized the powder diet, and it was for crested geckos. They clearly lay
Yep.
two different types of eggs. They're
Yeah,
not the same. So
yeah, and in separate locations. My cresteds, they always bury the eggs as opposed to the Chihuahua.
sure,
They're always at the
absolutely,
base of the cork, or a lot of
absolutely.
times just out in the open as well. But they're also I try not to cut eggs, but I have in the past a few times, just whenever weeks and weeks have gone by, and I know that I got two fertile eggs there, and one hatches, and the other one sits for another 2-3 weeks, and just trying to. I mean, yeah, they're two completely different.
Michael always say
Different.
it too. Michael say like 120 days. If it goes past 120 days, cut the egg, man. And he's like, in my eyes, the most knowledgeable. Not that other people aren't just as good with them, but Mike has always been my go-to source when I was getting into Chihuahuas. And if I remember correctly, and it's been years, but I remember him saying, like, if it goes past 120 days, either eggs no good or cut it. Like nothing good will happen after 120 days, for sure. How are you incubating them? Do you run it? Have you tried any? Do you do any type of experiments with like maybe certain temperatures and specific genders? Do you do anything like that, or do you just run a one?
I have two sea serpent incubators. I up until this past year, I did not incubate new cow eggs at all. And then this year, I did, and I had better
Really?
success. Just because I do have some pretty high temperature swings in the summer at least. And what really helped with that was this past year I did get a heat pump hot water heater, and everything is downstairs. and that really helped cool the room down because that fan's constantly running, and that balanced out my temps as well. But no, this past year I did incubate everything. I don't know the temperature off the top of my head. It's whatever, whatever whatever he incubates his at, and it's like to the day you can expect whenever those.
You see a lot more consistent times.
Yes, they are down to the day. It's almost every single time that those eggs hatch out, and it's pretty obvious whenever there's an issue, like whenever they go a week. I've never had a good experience that after waiting a week, it's usually either stillborn, not fully developed, it's wasn't going to make it, but everything that hatches out right at that time, and at that 120-day mark, they're healthy. So that seems to be, and I'm getting a good mix of males and females. I don't. It's weird. Like I get a decent mix, but then I hear others saying that it's all like female heavy or male heavy, like every other year as well. I haven't experienced that. I've just, it seems like if they're hatching out in that
80% of the time, 50-50. 80% of the time I've hatched them, I've been about 50-50. Male and a female every clutch, male and a female. And I'm just, giving myself the benefit of the doubt. I can't even recall a time or a clutch, and I still have every Pine Island I've ever hatched, I still have. I can't really say that I have a clutch that has been double males or double females. I don't even believe it's ever happened. Don't think I've ever had it. Mainlands, yes, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, no, that's been my experience as well. It's been a good mix, and that helps with pairing. So I know that if I really try to, if I have two nice ones pop out, I really try to keep one, and then that's the other one I'll look at it selling. So
how's the market down there for Chihuahuas when you go to your shows and whatnot?
Yeah, no, at the shows, I would say it's strong just because there's more and more of them at shows, but they're still pretty limited. But no, the market's been good, especially when I'm taking them out and everything else. And it goes back to a lot of people, their first time like ever holding a gecko, and they hold a Chihuahua. My experience is they're usually buying the Chihuahua. Sometimes not at the show. Sometimes, they're like, "Yep, I'm gonna." And a week later, like, I want that one that I held. And I think it goes back to having something that you can hold, you can take out, you can interact with, and they're just neat. They'll just sit there.
That's awesome to hear, actually. So you've sold people their very first gecko has been a Chihuahua?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yep. And
cool.
with
that is damn cool. Because you hear most people that keep Chihuahuas are like, well, get yourself a crested gecko and learn about them and blah, 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 which is cool. I'm not saying people shouldn't, but if you're willing
why do you think that is, though?
If you're willing to put the research into learning how to care for a crested gecko, you can put the same effort and energy and research into caring for a Chihuahua and do the same thing. It's that's awesome just to hear, though. That's beautiful. I wish I did. I wish I went right to Chihuahuas, but
I think that's the truth to be said about gargoyles, crested geckos, Chihuahuas, and a lychee, and Yuri. Like, they can all fairly do well as your first time pet.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that we keep in captivity can, again, if people are willing to do the research. Nothing is harder in my eyes than anything else if you're willing to spend the money. Some things do require certain things that other species don't. So if you're willing to create the environment and do the research, no one animal should be any harder to keep than another. Certain animals require different things, but they're not particularly harder to keep if you're willing to do the research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's how I explain it too at the shows. I explain it just like that. I say the reason that the price difference is here is because it takes me 120 days to hatch out eggs. And if something goes wrong, then if I have a bad year where that I'm getting infertiles from a pair, I'm only really getting, from my experience, six good eggs from a pair. So, not to say that that's just average. I mean, some pairs I get more from, some
still good season for a pair.
Exactly. So I explain that, and I say that that's why they're cost a little bit more and going through. And then I've worked with cresteds as well. I let them hold both, and I explain that. And it just from what I've experienced is people like the Chihuahua, and that's what they try to go for. So
cool. Because they're not cheap, right? I mean, I hope with the lines you have, you're not selling them for cheap. You're not giving them away, and that's awesome. That says a lot about the hobby to me. A lot about people. I have a lot more faith in people buying animals now. You know, you don't just spend that type of money like you're buying a leopard gecko and you get tired of it in a week. You're not spending Chihuahua money and getting tired of it in a week. You're set on a long-term project there, you know, or pet.
Yep, and I really do try to keep everything. And I think after this year, I have to keep everything at least till a year. I did sell a few as babies, 3-4 months, just because the rack was filling up, and I did hold one for about 2 to 3 months, and after I agreed to sell it for the price, and I think I sold probably the nicest gecko I produce as far as color goes. And what I was striving, one from 2 dark parents, and with that nice red that I'm striving for. And I watched the color out, and I'm like, man, but I got to keep my word. Yep. And there's always next year. So
hey, that's good advertisement for you. It's great advertising. Yeah. Hopefully they show that animal off. People see it. Where did it come from? You got 30 years advertising right there, you know?
Yep. No, that's the way I look at it. And I'm in it that's how I try to breed everything. I'm not like trying to scale to the point where it's not manageable. I'm really just looking at this as a long-term hobby first. This is my way to get away from everything. I come down here, and it's kind of it's just relaxing. So I try to keep it that way. Try not to make it anything else. And it's just good to see whenever you do produce nice stuff, and then it goes to good people who do good things with it. So
that's awesome.
What other geckos are you breeding?
I already hit the cresteds. I was working with a few different species Europlatus, but it just goes back to, like you said, with the rooms, making a decision. I really found that they do need it, at least a good temp drop at night. And I knew I couldn't give them that. Now that Ebanawi's they're a little bit different. Like you can get away with a little bit warmer temps with them. I still have a few of those in my new cow room, but I'm working with them. The electric blue geckos, I have a few different groups of them. They're awesome. They're awesome to look at. Every time you show somebody one, they can't you look at it as like the glowfish almost at PetSmart. Like it can't be real, like something that bright in nature. But whenever you do hatch one out, trying to get it out of the enclosure, I have a method now, but it took me a year or two to perfect, because once it's hatch and you open, I keep a lot of my stuff in Exoterras, and it never fails. There's always one on the inside lip as soon as you open up the 2 glass doors, and it shoots out across the room, and good luck catching it from there with how small and fast those things are. Strophorus, I'm not breeding those yet, but I am starting. Same thing, just getting babies, and definitely excited to.
Which species? Which ones do you have?
I'm going to butcher the scientific. Is it
Spinageris?
Spinageris, yes. Yep. I got a few of those, and I'm just trying to slowly. Again, it's the same struggle with Nephris, is just trying to diversify and try to as much as possible, because nothing more coming out of Australia.
Who'd you get those from?
It was West Coast West Coast Colubrids, I think his name is. I'll pull it up now.
If you ever look for more, I got a couple of good buddies of mine that like they work with every species that's in the country, and they have a collection that's as diverse as anyone can, and they are awesome. My buddy Landon and another buddy of mine Wyatt, they love those things, man. They are
Definitely interested in diversifying, getting a few
they're good
more of
people to
those.
talk to. They're very, very knowledgeable. They literally, that is their world. Or these Australian spiny tailed things. They have the tenicatas, they have the ciliaris, the spinageris, and all of them that are in the country. They literally have multiple pairs of everyone that's in the country. I mean, yeah. If you're ever interested, I'll link you up with them. It's just good people to
Black
talk to.
checkers all down their sides are just they're neat. They're right now. I got them
cool.
as babies. They're all in
I have
deli
ciliaris
still.
myself, but I don't know that I'll ever breed them again. It's a hard thing trying to keep that type of environment in my room, but they're just so damn cool that I'm willing to do it. Like it's but I love the tenicatas too, the gold tails, the golden tail ones, which I guess there's technically 3 different subspecies of 2, but they're awesome. So
some of the colors on them is just the same. They're neat. So
the black mouth, purplish mouth.
Yeah. I always said, you know what, I'm just going to concentrate. And sure enough, the opportunity came up. Those actually came in a trade. They got me onto those, and with a few Nephrus, and I'm definitely going to be adding more of those here in the future. Just the same thing. I just want to keep a few at first, grow them, get their care down, and get them figured out. And one more type, but and then the last ones I left out was the Underwood Asaurus, pretty close with similar care. I keep them the same exact way almost that I keep the Nephrus. But I keep them on a different substrate. I mix a peat moss the cocoa core into the sand just to keep the higher humidity with those. That came from a project that the dark red albinos, we imported those right before they hit CITES about, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago now. Me and a good friend, I imported a group of them from Germany, and been working with those here, and working with the eastern form of them. But it's just another neat project where I'm hoping to incorporate. I think there's more and more.
Yours are, man. You got some cool species, man. Really, really cool species.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. The number one though for this coming year is some of the stuff I picked up from Tom from Secret Labs. Those high white, the Pilbaransis, and then I also have a pair. My ultimate goal with it is so whenever we did that import, I also did import a few high white from Christian from the Instagram's Knobtails, and got a few from him from their Hong Kong line, the high whites, and then recently I got a lot from the Korean lines as well. Few holdbacks from last year have a really nice that white stripe going down the back, and then I do have a het albino eye white that I picked up, so that'll be a pretty neat pairing for this coming year, because the ultimate goal with that is just an albino with that thick white stripe going on the back would be pretty neat.
Do you work with the Amy eyes? Amy eye?
I do. I have just one pair of them. But going back to putting something out on your table at a show, and it's the conversation starter in itself, which is pretty neat looking. Yeah, I don't have any of the Aspers. I've always those on my bucket list.
Which one's bigger? Is the Asper bigger than the Amy eye, or the Amy eye's bigger?
They're the biggest. The females are just huge. They're neat. So I do keep those in a bit bigger tub, but everything else I keep them in same size, and they do well. Just with a little bit, I keep the ones that don't require as much humidity at the top of the rack, and then bottom of the rack stays a little more humid. Just little things like that seem to help. And
Wait,
and
so
ones
when you say two rooms, you're saying one room for the leaf tails and everything else is in the other room?
for the Chihuahua. Now, all my new cow, I have. Well, it's not so much a room. I have like the main room that I'm in right now is where I'll try to turn. I got my computer connected, but essentially it's all racks going down one side. That's all my where I keep the Nephris and the Underwodosaurus in here. That's my main room, and this is the one I let get a little bit warmer. Now I have like a small. It was essentially whenever we bought the house, the lady was going to put a tanning bed in that room. It's connected, and that's the exterior. So it does. I'm able to control that a little bit more and keep that cooler. And especially in the winter months, it does get significantly cooler. So that helps there, and just kind of maintains a little bit. I don't have to keep that one as warm in the summer
How are you
either.
cooling these Australian species? Are you finding it? Do you find it a must to cool them to have a good breeding season? A lot of guys I talk to say that certain Australian species they will not produce unless they get a crazy cool, like a crazy 40-degree chill. Do you do anything like that, or
There's a lot of different ways to do it is what I've come to say. I've had like reputable like
you're obviously
breeders
having success? That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yep.
people write certain methods off, and it's like I know people are successful both ways. So
Especially a lot of the breeders overseas, they swear that you have to get them very cool for a long period of time. That absolutely is a way. I've heard too many, and I've experienced some of that as well. Once you do get them too cool, they just don't really recover. So I do more of a soft cooling per se. I shut what I do for everything essentially is I'll start slowly right around like middle of November, beginning of November. I'll start messing with the lighting. I'll start just making it less and less light all the way up until mid-December, whenever I keep it pretty dark 24/7. And then with that, the heat, I will completely cut the heat off of the racks. So that helps just cool essentially to both rooms down as well. But once that heat's cut off and then the lighting, that you'll notice that they stop eating for the most part. They'll come out, they'll eat, I would say once a week is safe. Some will stay burrowed. Like I keep everything in the terracotta dishes where I just knock the front off. And some will stay in there for weeks. So I kind of leave it up to them. I offer that, and I don't get it cool to the point. It never drops below 60. I would say it's probably 62 to 60, 65, I would say, for those 2 months where I have no heat running. And I've also do see a little bit of activity. I'll still mist one end of the cage, so they are getting the moisture if they want to come out for it. And then I do keep, instead of crickets jumping around in there, I'll usually do dubia. That way I can really monitor if they are eating or not, because I know if I open it up and the dish is still full, good to go. But there's ones that just they'll eat year round and they'll also produce year round. So as far as what's the best method, I don't, but that's what's worked for me.
blame you. I'm not spending $900 on a gecko and putting it in the refrigerator.
No,
You're nuts.
no.
$900 go put it in a reptile in the refrigerator. I'm not doing it.
I looked as, you know what, if it doesn't breed for me that year, so be it. I'm not taking the chance of it not recovering and not fully,
Literally mean. I'm not even exaggerating. I watch people take them in tubs and they will put them in a refrigerator. I get it. That's cool. We can adjust temperatures. but you're not putting me in a refrigerator, you know? Like,
Nope.
No, I see.
animals in the refrigerator. Like,
I like leaving a room for air, and I figure if I'm still misting and I'm still offering food, if they are truly going out and that's it for a few weeks or a month, so be it. They still have that option on the
Sure.
other end of the cage if they want to come out, and they didn't truly go down. So that's worked for me, and it's the same with the
It's good that it
incubation.
works too, because I
Years
would
to get
agree
the
with
incubation down with
everything you're
them.
doing.
Yeah, the incubation as a whole, it's just as finicky. I would say you just gotta try different methods, and I found that some people recommend. I think they're using in a drier environment versus if you live in a more humid area. I think a lot of that just you gotta try different methods and see what works best for you.
How do you incubate your Australians, your knobtails, just out of curiosity? I've never bred them, so I wouldn't know how to even where to start. Do you do like a dry cup and a wet cup, kind of like a Europlatus setup, or how do you do that?
I haven't. Well, so I've had a couple different of either the cups or the containers, with a couple different I've done the clay in the past. I've done the water crystals in the past. I've done vermiculite, perlite, and then I've tried this is like what's the trays I have them sitting here.
Sim trays,
Yes,
sim
I've
containers.
tried the sim, and I've also tried. They're just the black inserts for the deli cups, where the eggs will sit up on top of it.
Yeah.
And those I haven't. One year I did really well with them. Everything hatched out, and for example, last year that's why my production was not as high. I had a lot of fertile eggs where I tried a more humid cup, and I had a lot more. And I found that when you're questioning it, always err on the side of drier rather than higher humidity, and chances are you're going to be okay. At least what I found, the egg is less likely to dry out than it is to if you get it too humid, and it can't breathe, and it's going to mold. At least that from where I live, that's what I found with the knobtails. I've had eggs that were a couple days out from hatching that all of a sudden started to mold in that method. What I tried with the second half of my eggs was the deli cup with a perlite vermiculite mix. Sorry, it's the mister's going off if it's loud in the background. Perlite vermiculite mix, 3 holes punched in the sides of the cup, not the top, and the eggs directly on top of the substrate, and then burp them once every week or two, and everything was fertile hatched out for me. So
What do you do? You have a set temperature for them, and how long do they take to normally hatch?
that one's 87, and they hatch out at 60 days. I have
You're
everything
close to like
saved.
bearded dragon temperatures. It's Australia, man. It's got to be pretty similar, you know. Interesting.
Yep. Don't quote me on the 87, but yeah, it's just about 60 days. They'll all hatch out. I just haven't. I have my incubators but shut off. And
do all the species? Do you incubate all of your knobtail species the same, or do any specific species? Yeah.
So the Underwood SR, everything. They all go in for the same temp, same duration, same type of eggs. They're so thin. I think is what makes those a little bit more difficult. Is even grabbing them just with how they bury them. Whenever you have the ones where they like the Underwood SRs where I put the cocoa core in there, that's a little bit easier. But whenever they pack the sand, very obvious whenever they lay. Like the terracotta is a mountain literally in one side of the cage. And you know exactly, and I keep them all in clear bins so I can do exactly that. I can pick it up, look, and see. And it sometimes takes 5 minutes just because you're slowly because if you put any pressure on them, you're going to damage the eggs just because of how thin the eggs are. So
yeah,
once you get them out, Yep.
Every time I collect
You
an
pick
Ebanawi clutch, I break one of them. I still years later can't do it right. Now I've actually this year I finally started to scoop them out with like a little scooper, but every time for the first year I bred them, I would crack one egg every time I try to collect them.
Yep. No, it's and they're so small too. And I had the similar experience with the Ebonite. Oh yeah, and then is it Scoria? Is that
Sycorae,
yep.
Sycorae.
Yep. But then incubating those with the wet substrate, and then I put the bottle cap in there with the dry vermiculite, and that seems to be the winner there with them. And I don't know. I think that would probably work well with the Australian species. I haven't tried it. So
Well, if you're having success the other way, I mean, really no reason to experiment. I mean, you could, but if something works.
yep. Don't mess with it. So
don't
Yeah,
mess with it if it's working. Leave it
Yep.
alone.
Yep. No, it's working so far. I mean, last year was a little bit different year. I was deployed, 2 years ago, two seasons ago, and I didn't pair anything. And then, sure enough, a few geckos here and there produced, and one of them was my Europlatus. And here, my wife had, I would say, more success than I did with. I mean, I just got put a few more pairs. I keep those together year round, and she did a great job taking care of those. And then she hatched out a ton of them,
that's awesome.
which was awesome. I mean,
Very cool.
of all
she's
the
not
different
scared.
geckos.
She's not scared. Does she help feed and clean and do everything? Well, obviously, if you're gone, she's doing it. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very
Well,
cool.
that was it was expected, but I had less time than I thought to, and that's where my collection, where the Europlatus, I kind of decided what I needed to focus on and stuck to that. But I still had a pretty large collection, all the Chihuahua. I had enough. At that point, it was coming up on 3 years for all of them, and I'm like, I can't sell any of those. I just raised them for 3 years. I'm not getting rid of them. Same thing with the knobtails. I have a lot. Most of what I have now are what I produced from animals that I bought. I didn't want to sell those, and she took care of in excess of 150 geckos for
very cool.
total.
Does she have a favorite
10 months.
Species? Does she have a
All
favorite?
pregnant.
What's her favorite?
Knobtails.
Really?
Knobtails, hands down. Yep.
Well, they
Yep.
are
Yeah.
characters. You can't take that from Knobtails. They do their little dances and stuff. I mean, they're definitely little animated characters.
I think National Geographic rated the babies in like the top 10 cutest
Really?
baby of
Sure.
any.
I get it. I see it.
They're adorable.
Just how they look, and no, but she likes them. They don't jump or anything. They're pretty. When you take them out, they just sit on your hand, and I think she likes that too. So,
will she feed bugs? Does she get creeped out about the bugs? Does she feed crickets?
Dubia only. She for whatever she doesn't like crickets because they'll jump, but maybe like up to half-inch dubia she was fine with. So that's what everything ate for 11 months, and everything was fine. She I mean, like I said, with the Europlatus, she was crushing it with them. Like
good for you guys, man. I really love. Mark's wife helps him too. I love when I talk to guests and their partner, whether it's their husband or their wife, they help each other. It is what it is. But I'm getting divorced, right? I'm in the middle of a divorce. My ex-wife, would have nothing to. She despised the fact that I loved reptiles, right? Like she hated it. She hated it. But every time I see people like both of you guys in your relationships and your marriages, that's beautiful. Like that's amazing. Even though, say, your wife it may not be what she chooses to do with her free time, she cares enough about you that she'll do that for you. And same thing with your wife, Mark. It may not be what she would do on her free time if she could say, "Hey, here's a free Sunday and $1,000. Go have a great day." She's not going to go and buy geckos or clean gecko cages, but knowing what it means to you, she does it. And I love seeing that. That's beautiful.
Oh
That's
yeah.
real love. And I hope both of
Uh,
you realize what you have.
And
And when
my
it
son,
comes to
and
taking care of your women,
my
oh,
wife and my son. When your kids get older, oh, it's gonna be a blessing. It's a blessing, you know. And there's ups and downs with everything. Like my wife is definitely not feeding no roaches. First of all, I'm gonna tell you that. But
I was surprised.
so
I was
so
surprised she
so
picked the
bless your
Dookie.
wife.
I don't
But my
know.
wife will do a lot of other things. You know, my son will take care of the roaches. My wife, she loves me as much as she loves me. She's not touching it. But amazingly, she stopped me from breeding crickets and told me, babe, just do the roaches. I don't smell nothing with the roaches. Get rid of the crickets.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
it's
No, and that's a good point. I mean, I've switched to more and more. Same thing. I've switched to more and more feeding dubia just because
are you
they're
breeding your own?
impossible.
You breeding your own feeders, Jesse, or are you buying them?
No, no, I'm buying them. I just it's I down the road I will, but I just really concentrated on like, would I rather breed more reptiles or spend more
It's a
time and
full-time
come
job,
down to
man. I can firsthand
uh,
vouch for it. Some days I
yep,
wake up and I want to say I hate my life because God knows I love my life, but I not happy with some things I've committed myself to, and breeding feeders is one of them. You know, like it's a full day's worth of work to take care of all these colonies I have, and it's between the crickets, the 4 different types of roaches, the super worms. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this today. I would just gladly go out and spend $100 and buy all this stuff, but nope,
yep.
here we are taking care of
No,
bugs today.
yeah, it's a time commitment in itself, and I plan to down the road. Just right now, the convenience of ordering them and it
Way
works.
easier to buy them, have them sent to your door. The only inconvenience about buying them is, and this is assuming you do or you may not do, but is gut loading and waiting 48 hours to do it. I raise my bugs on things that I want going into my animals, and that's how I justify doing it. But at the end of the day, I'm losing twice as much time raising them as I could just leaving them in a bin for 48 hours and feeding them what I want them to eat. But I committed myself, so here we go.
Yep, no, that's a good point. That's that's a good point.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, so
Yep.
we're at an hour and a half, dude. I feel like we were talking for 25 minutes, man. And I can honestly go on and on and on, and I would love to have you back on. But because of people's attention purposes, we normally try to keep it in an hour, but this is an incredible conversation. And again, I didn't even think I checked off half of the things on the list I really wanted to talk about. But I don't like when our guests have a lot to say and they may not get heard because it's at the end of an hour long podcast and people's attention spans last 15 minutes. It kind of sucks. But
No, absolutely.
and I'm not saying we have to end now, but let's start thinking about the end coming up. Is there any projects or anything that you want to talk about? Anything you're super excited about? Anything you want to announce? Any upcoming shows? Anything that you want to talk about? Again, we're highlighting you, man. You are the guest. You are show is about you.
Yeah. No, I think just like I was saying about the those knobtail projects, I did add a couple more species. The the just the high white pilvarensis in general. I think this coming
It's
year
exciting.
is going to be a pretty cool year, and that's just what I want to focus on and let people know that I am focusing on, just because that so few of them out there. So definitely be on the lookout for some cool stuff coming out there. As far as shows go, I just signed up for the. So I've only really done local shows. I always do Gettysburg. I do Frederick. I do Baltimore Repticon. But I did just sign up for the
So I just
Pittsburgh
got
Mega
invited
Show.
to that show last weekend. I got invited to go share a table at the Baltimore Repticon with my buddy Chris. It's cool.
Oh, it's a good one. I mean, just with the 2 day, that's the only one that I do that's 2 days. But I am doing the Pittsburgh Mega Show coming up.
Sweet.
So excited for that one. That's just a different. I grew up going to the Harmer House as a kid. The shows out there in Pittsburgh. I don't think that one's go. I think actually the initial venue burned down. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's cool to go back to where I initially started going to shows and first really got into reptiles, and now I'm going back to Pittsburgh. My parents are still there, so a good opportunity to see them, hang out with them for a weekend, and then also go do that show. And I want to slowly do more and more. I should be posting a lot more on Morph Market. I do have a lot more, but between just people messaging me, people I meet at shows, and then at the shows, seem to not everything I want to sell. I do, but I think next year maybe just based on the amount of pairings, I have 2 full racks of just female knobtails at this point. So I'd be posting a lot more on Morph Market there, along with other places, and trying to do a couple more shows here and there whenever I'm able to.
Have you ever thought about Palm Street? Do you know anything about Palm Street? Have you looked into that?
I've been on it. I just I created an account. I've sat in a couple of the lives. Yeah, I that's another another good option.
With the niche collection you have, I'm just looking, in the future, I guess. You have a very unique niche collection. And I'd imagine a lot of this country would want access to some of these animals and lines you're working with. And I guess Morph Market is a decent platform for that. However, I think with your type of collection, your ability to communicate, you would probably do very well on a Palm Street. Big misconception is you don't have to auction off your animals. You don't have to give your animals away. You don't have to run auctions. You can have things just for sale, talk, show your animals off, and have them sell them for a set price that's already in your store. You don't have to compromise on your prices, which not saying you assume that, but a lot of people I talk to, they like to stay away from Palm Street because they don't want to, compromise or sacrifice their hard work, which I totally respect and wouldn't suggest anyone does either. But it's good access for you to have a live audience countrywide. And with your type of collection, I can only imagine you would probably sell just about everything you're willing to sell.
Okay. No, I'll keep that in mind. Yes, I didn't realize, I haven't been on there enough to know that. I thought it was just auction or the storefront. And I clicked on people's storefronts and I saw that they had some listed, but it seemed like they were selling more on auction. Something I got to look into more, but I appreciate that information.
It's a full interactive. You could have a shop just like a Morph Market. You could post whatever you're listing for sale. You could post like Instagram on there and show what you're doing. And I do live shows that I sell. And I do live shows that I just strictly talk. And I go through my collection and I show people what I'm doing. You don't have to always sell,
Awesome. Okay.
Or you build your community there.
Or auction, right, Mark? You don't have to auction anything. At all. You don't have to auction anything at all.
The last 2 Palm Streets I've done, I haven't sold anything. I just talked.
For an audience, I will admit that. Like, say you have 500 people in your show, 500 people are watching, you already sold 100 animals. You might want to throw a bone to your audience and say, you know what, guys, customer appreciation. I'm auctioning this animal off right here. We're starting at $100. That animal's guaranteed going to go for more than you wanted for it, but you're throwing your audience a bone, but you don't have to go on there. And I will admit that I feel like some people promote it as that, not everybody does. Again, I learned the whole thing through Mark right here. I was under that impression too. I never wanted anything to do with it because I'm like, I just rather not sell my animals than put them on there for $1. Like, I'm not selling my animals for $1. Not interested. Sorry. And then he dragged me in one day, got me to come and watch his and hang out and see how the whole thing went. And it's literally a completely interactive, live reptile show. It's very, very cool. And again, not to sound like a broken record, with your type of collection, I don't think anyone on there has anything like you do, man. You have such a unique collection of animals that you would have a country as an audience. Like, people would literally, from every country. I mean, you'd have to figure shipping out and all of that, which they make very easy for you. You know, you can purchase shipping slips through them. You can do tracking through them, which you don't have to, but you can. They make it very easy to do. And I just think you have, it's like perfect storm almost with your collection, your, ability to communicate, your personality, your animals. I think that you would do very, very well. I'm almost certain you would. I'd put money on it that you would do very well.
I'm gonna look into it.
You should.
I going into it without doing a lot of research on it. I looked at it as, okay, I don't have a big following on there, and I didn't want to do a few lives and sell animals for less than what they're worth, or I could. And I that's good to know that I can do them without having to sell animals. I'll have to go through, click around and set up a
Check
few.
some out. Study the site. It's definitely worth doing. And again, not that you have to by any means. If you have your sales outlets and your avenues to sell, and what you're doing's work for you, disregard anything I'm saying. I just, I like to let other people know that they do have multiple options, especially in the economy today, the reptile hobby, not that you are, but a lot of people have been complaining lately that the reptile market is dead, or, there's no money in this. One, I don't think you should be in reptiles for money. You should probably have a job. But
Correct.
The reptile hobby is not dead. Like everything else, it is evolving, right? Like, it's evolving and it's changing, and a lot of it has to do with technology. However, the reptile hobby is far from dead. If anything, it's bigger than it's ever been, and people are doing more incredible things than have ever been done. And there's, we're producing animals healthier, keeping them better. The reptile hobby has never been better in my eyes. Granted, this is not the COVID economy, right? Where everybody's just giving free money and they're just spending it like we're going to get more free money next week. People aren't doing that. But the reptile hobby is far from dead. And my point again being that a lot of people are spreading this mythological rumor that the hobby is dying and sales are down. It's not. They're just not adapting to the current state of the hobby.
I think there's a lot of neat new care methods as well, and things to help that. I think, was it you posted about the monster box enclosures? Is that
Yep. It's a company in me and Mark.
Those racks you only ever saw in Korea, where they have I think they're not released yet, but that's definitely something I'm going to be.
The reason the whole method behind that was that a few people, it's pretty much known as a Korean style rack. A couple people were importing them and they were selling them for these astronomical prices, like $2,000, and half of the money was an import price. It was just outrageous. And I
looked into them, and that's where it's crazy.
I had the opportunity to make some connections, and my mission again is not money. I make a great money swinging a hammer for a living. I build houses. I don't need this to make me money. I need this to bring me sanity. And I just don't like that people have to compromise on their family life to have this passion. It shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to compromise on buying your children something so you can take care of your pets properly. I don't agree with that. So Mark and myself have sourced out people, factories, methods in order to get people these things for cheaper. And that's what we did. And people really seem to like that Korean style rack system. So we got it thrown into production pretty much. Now it's slightly different, but this is the first release, and we have another one we're working on. But certain materials, aluminums, powder coated aluminum was a little pricey at the time, so we had to go with this laminated bamboo route first. But it's cool. These first units look like a piece of furniture. Not everybody has a designated gecko room. Some people are keeping their animals in their living room. Some people are keeping them in a bedroom. But the point is, we'll get them in here for a quarter of the price. At 10 units, No, sir, we're making them stackable. So every module is 3 bins and you can add up to 10 of them. But we're hoping to come in at, well under $500 for 10 units, for a level of 10, which is $1,500 less than any other one that you can import. So we're still working
That
on
helps.
some things, but again, yeah, we want to give people options. And that's what I always say to people. Our goal at Monster Box is to give people more affordable options to keep your animals better. It's not saying that what people aren't doing isn't great, but you should have options, affordable options.
Yep. No, that's good to see. And that's yeah, that was just something I saw recently that you posted, and I'm like, that's pretty good. That all this is coming out because that's only going to help people to be able to grow collections more affordably and take better care of their geckos.
I personally love glass. I love my glass exoterrors, man. I'm never going to lie to people. You can't beat them. But I can't keep a room of 36-inch tall glass exoterrors. I can't have, I guess I could, but it'd cost me a lot of money to have 100 of those things, And it's, again, there should just be options. And the options, the objective behind that shouldn't always just be money driven in my eyes, right? Like, is this reptile hobby to me? It's not money. It's not money. I don't do this for money. This is my piece. I want to help people. I want to promote people. I want to, I want everyone to feel welcomed and wanted and accepted. And as long as you're not a complete scumbag, that is,
Yep.
Everyone should just be on an equal playing field. This is one thing, as diverse as the country is, politically, religiously, genderly, whatever. Everybody's all going their own different route. When we come to this is the one thing we have in common, right? Like, this is what we have in common. We shouldn't be fighting about anything. We should be building each other up, encouraging each other, teaching each other, learning from each other. This is what we have in common. We don't need to worry about all the things we don't.
Yep. 100%. I couldn't agree more. That's the way I look at it, and that's why I try, like, politics, everything. I just, it doesn't matter. It's neat to just have a group of people that you can continue to further this passion. The geckos that we currently have in the country, that there's no more coming in.
It's huge.
So if we screw that up,
absolutely,
what's yours
that's
here?
Huge. And you need to be able to communicate. You guys got to be able to talk. And I don't want to say that it's a separate community, but it is to a degree. The Australian species, community is its own community. You guys know what bloodlines are what. Who's working with
it's
what.
a reptile community with a lot of divisions to it. At the end of the day, they're all reptiles.
Well, focus points. I wouldn't say division, but there's focus points. If you're in Australian species, no disrespect by any means, but I'm in a new cow community. I'm putting most of my energy and efforts into focusing on these bloodlines, and not out of disrespect by any means, but I'm not really concerned with what the Australian bloodlines and communities or things are doing, because that's not what I'm doing. So it's not that I would ever not acknowledge that it exists. I love people to keep all types of reptiles.
Yeah.
Already a small percentage of people in general. It's just I can only absorb so much information that I don't have room for it all. But,
absolutely.
It's cool to see people like you that are, because you're in, again, this super unique situation where you're just absorbing all kinds of information and facts about 2 different types of environments. Well, I guess technically they're very close. Australia, New Caledonia, they were, I guess, technically connected, right? Australia, or New Cal, was initially connected to Australia at some juncture back in one of those eras. Actually, I know for a fact it was. I don't remember which era it was, or whether it was Pangea or whatever the hell the supercontinent was. But New Caledonia was. Eurodactylotes are direct descendants of the spiny tails. So that's not like, divergent evolution. They're related. So, yeah. and go on.
Yeah, it's neat stuff, and that's one day I'm going to make it over there. I'm going to get to New Caledonia, and that's where we had our always talked about doing New Zealand, Australia, and New Caledonia.
Talk about
that's the
geckos
goal.
and rare geckos, man. New Zealand, oh my God. We're not as knowledgeable on it because they just, they're super strict with their animals, but they have some of the craziest species and more than you would imagine. I think New Zealand has like 60 something different species of crazy geckos and live bearing geckos and geckos. I read a study and I shared it a while ago. Do you remember this article, Mark, where they found a gecko in the same tree 60 something years later? Back in the 50s and 60s, they were studying, these biologists were studying geckos, and they used to clip toes. That's how they identified them back then, is they would put clippings in certain parts of the animal by like clipping toes, certain parts of the toes, and documenting whatever. But biologists went back 50 years later and found the same living animal in the same tree. Like, these animals are documented 70 something years old. It was all over the news maybe a year or two ago on one of these news stations, but I had posted it and did some research into it. And these New Zealand geckos commonly live upwards of 80 years. Pretty gnarly.
They do live a lot cooler, though, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like
sure.
I know that may, I don't know if that impacts it.
I'd imagine it does. I'd imagine it does.
They have some crazy stuff coming out of there.
Sure.
It's more and more tough to learn about.
But as far as even like biologists going there, it's from what I gather, it's super hard to go to. People like always put out that myth that it's hard to get to New Caledonia. I've seen more biologists and people I follow go to New Caledonia in the last 10 years than I see go to New Zealand. Like, you're not just going to New Zealand and stomping around their woods. It's not happening,
No.
I was watching a Bear Grylls. Not Bear Grylls. Forrest Galante video today, and he was doing his he has a series on are they extinct or are they not extinct thing, and one of them came up with Philippe Dejouvelet, the guy that wrote all the books, the Rhacodactylus books. Well, apparently they were studying, him and Frank Fast were studying a lot of geckos in New Zealand as well, and I don't remember exactly how it went. I don't want to butcher it, but they were talking about this gecko that is thought to be extinct. It's another large Leachianus-like gecko that is maybe even listed as extinct. But Frank Fast and Philippe literally have documented this animal alive and well in a very specific tree. And, they won't reveal its location for obvious reasons, but it was just cool to hear. There's this whole little world of geckos out there that's hardly ever been explored.
Crazy to think about how much we haven't. Yeah, it exists out there that we don't know, or the people that do know about it are still living that tribal, and just they're not sharing that information either. So what's there is there.
Yep. Very cool.
That's amazing, eh?
Cool.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The world in general is. All right, boys, we're at an hour and 42 minutes here. Now, I could literally sit here and keep talking. I know you guys have families. I don't want to be selfish, so all I have is a dog.
Yeah.
I appreciate both of you, man, more than you guys know, man. Conversations like this are what I live for, man. Beautiful.
Appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you coming on. I'll let you know when we're going to release the reels and release the episodes and whatnot, and I'll tag you in them. When I end this, don't go anywhere. I had an issue last time with it not uploading, and I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to stop the episode. Guys, we appreciate you stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this podcast.
Good talk.
Ranger Exotics, stop by. Follow Jesse. Check him out. Support him. Shoot him a thank you, too, for defending our country, man. You guys live the lives you live today. You can walk down the street with a smile on your face and your children laughing and giggling at your side because of men like this that put their lives on the line to make sure you're safe. Don't forget that, guys. That's just as important as this reptile community, man. The people that are out there defending this land that we call home, they give us the ability to do the things we want to do. Shoot them a thank you, guys. Catch you on the next one. Later.